All right, so welcome back to Introduction to Mixing, a free class for composers and producers who want to mix their own music. Today, we will be learning step number 3 of our simple mixing workflow, and that is how to pan your different tracks. Now, panning has to do with creating the illusion of a physical location for each instrument in our arrangement. It can be really useful to look at an orchestral seating chart in order to better understand this. So every instrument in this chart has a specific location that they take up on stage. These are the spots where the musicians would sit. These locations have an impact on how each instrument is heard by the audience. And that impact is what we are going to call the stereo field. Now, the stereo field has two parts, width and directionality. Stereo width refers to how much space a sound takes up in the stereo field. For example, a solo brass instrument will have a narrower width than a full violin section. The sound of the brass player comes from a single player sitting in a very specific spot on stage, while the sheer number of violin players is going to take up a lot more space. Stereo direction has more to do with where the sound is located on stage from left to right. Using our example, the violin section is going to be further to the left, whereas a single tuba player would be located further to the right. Of the two, stereo direction tends to be the easiest to manipulate. Your width is going to be largely controlled for by things like mic positions or the types of libraries you're using, whether it's a violin section or a violin soloist. While there are some plugins like Waves S1, which can help a little bit, and there are a couple advanced tricks with things like stereo balancing and delay, it's not something you really need to focus on that much unless you're a professional mixing engineer. For our purposes, if you focus on just figuring out your stereo direction, you'll get about 80% of the way there, which is more than enough for the average composer or producer. Now, if you're working with instrumental music, this is going to be simple enough. Step number 1 is to just determine whether the sound library or track you're working with is pre-panned or not. Some sound libraries and recordings will sound pre-panned just by virtue of how they were recorded. So if you know what library you're working with, you can always just Google it to see if it's pre-panned or not. But if not, you can use the simple headphone test. Just wear your headphones while listening to the tracks, and then take turns lifting each side from your ears to see if one sounds louder than the other. If they sound equal, it's probably not panned. But if one of your ears sounds louder, then it's been panned. This information is important to know, but when working with a pre-panned track or library, but in either situation, you just want to trust your ears. Pre-panned libraries won't require as much adjustment, but a little bit can still help. Make sure you're listening, trust your ears, and find the positioning you want for each track compared to the others. More on this in just a little bit. Step number 2 is to decide how you would like to pan your libraries. I am going to recommend 3 basic approaches. The easiest is just to use your DAW's built-in panning utility, which can usually be found in your mixing console. You can also use a standalone plugin, something like 2C Precedence, Waves S1, or any other number of decent options. But if you're working with MIDI tracks instead of audio tracks, a third option, and one of my personal favorites, is to use the panning utilities built into the libraries themselves. Now, there are arguments for and against each of these options. Standalone plugins tend to be a bit more powerful, but they demand much more resources from your computer, especially when you need to load a single instance of the plugin for each and every one of your tracks. Projects with lots of tracks can very quickly get overwhelmed with the demands it places on your computer. Now, the panning utilities built into your DAW tend to be a little less powerful, but they're significantly easier on your computer. And the panning utilities built into your libraries tend to be designed with the specific needs and sound of your library in mind. But they also require you to work with MIDI tracks instead of audio tracks, which can be significantly demanding on your computer. You get the picture. Normally, I would prefer to use a plugin like 2C Precedence. Whichever strategy you decide to go with should be fine. But since this series is trying to focus on the simplest and most straightforward strategies, we're going to work with the built-in panning utility here in Cubase. Step number 3 is to start panning. If you're working with strictly instrumental music, this step is pretty straightforward. Just find an orchestral seating chart and try to imitate the positions for each instrument in your arrangement. I usually work left to right, so I will start with the first violins. In this mix, I'm using Spitfire Studio Strings Pro, which is a pre-panned library. But I still want to apply just a little bit of panning, so I'm going to start by listening to the library soloed. Since the first violins are situated on the left side of the stage, I will start moving them slightly to the left. Let's say L10. I'll listen for a bit. Let's try a little bit more. And a bit more. And I think that's good. Personally, what I'm trying to find with this very first track is the right amount where I first notice, oh, that's panned. Just past the cusp where I can tell just by listening, okay, the left side definitely feels a little bit stronger. I don't want a super strong effect. I just want a little subtle taste, if that makes sense. Obviously, this is a matter of personal preference. From here, if I had additional tracks doubling up my first violins across multiple libraries, I would then use this initial track as my reference. I would listen to each of them, panning slightly until each one sounded relatively similar to this one, making sure that each of my other libraries are situated similarly, again, focusing on my ears and not necessarily the number on the screen. Once I have my first violins taken care of, my next step is violin 2, which need to be situated a little closer to the center. Now, since I'm working with the same exact library, I'm going to try splitting the difference and setting me about L15, which is halfway between the center and violin 1. I'm going to use this as a starting point and see how I feel. That's about perfect, I think. Yeah, that's about perfect. Again, I am just listening to how they sound compared to each other. Do my second violins sound a little closer to the center than my first violins? Since the violas and celli mirror my violins, I'll give them the opposite settings, just to get things started. Mirroring my violas to the second violins at right 15, and my celli to the first violins at right 30. Again, these are just starting points that I can use because they're all from the same library. I start from there, I make adjustments based off my personal preferences until I feel happy with the sound. I would then take the same exact approach to my woodwinds, making sure that I use my orchestral seating chart as a reference. So here, I know that my clarinets need to sound a little more to the left, but not as far left as the first violins. Again, as frustrating as it can be, I just need to trust my ears. All right? I'd make adjustments as they seem fit, focusing on creating a sound that I think sounds good enough until I find a good spot for each track across the stereo field. Now, this step can be time consuming, but it should be relatively straightforward. However, it does become a little more complex if you introduce non-instrumental elements like singers or synthesizers, instruments that aren't placed in a neat and tidy orchestral seating chart. For these, you want to keep in mind a single simple rule. Tracks with similar frequencies should be panned in opposite directions. For example, if you have a synthesizer playing in the same range as violin 1, then you should probably try panning it further to the right, so it's on the opposite side of your mix. The reason for this has to do with something called frequency masking, a phenomenon where a loud sound at one frequency can hide or cover up quieter sounds at the same nearby frequencies. Panning helps clean this up a little bit so that it doesn't muddy up or dirty your mix. So if you're working with non-traditional orchestral instruments, just ask yourself, which instrument is this most closely related to? And then make sure that you pan it on the opposite side. After just a little bit of effort, we're done with the panning. So let's give it a quick listen. already it is sounding so much better. And with that, we have reached the end of another video. In the next lesson, we are going to discuss the next step in mixing, which is reverb. But until then, I would like to thank my generous patrons, channel members, and the donors who make videos like this one possible. I appreciate each of you more than you realize. So until next time, keep studying, keep working hard, and keep writing new music, my friends. I will see you in the next video.